Okay, now certainly you can do these a couple at a time, depending if the geometry is set apart from each other. So in this case, I have this part and this part. They're both very far apart. But some has a better or a worse scan distance than the other one. I'm not going to see the inside of here, so I'm not really worried about inside. What I'm going to try to do is both at the same time. So I'm going to get greedy. And greedy is not good in 3D. Okay, here's what I have to do. Hit A, highlight all the UVs, and go to Image, New Image. We'll call this 1_normal map. You can name it whatever. You just got to make sure that you have room for all 20 odd pieces or whatever. So, naming convention, very important. Organization, so important. 4096, 4096. Hit OK. Black is fine. Make sure you save often. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm only going to do one at a time because I'm capturing video. It could get hairy. So, chest high. Where's chest low? Oh, because it's gauntlet low. Gotcha. Okay, so gauntlet low and chest low is the same thing. Here's how you separate them. Grab a component, hit L, go to Mesh, Vertices, Separate by Selection. Now they're two individual parts. This is chest low. So I'm going to rename it chest low again. Alright, this is how you start burning the objects. Click on your high, make sure it's hidden. Make sure all other things are hid. This is in object mode, so click Shift, the chest low, hit Tab over here, and then hit A to highlight all the faces. All the faces should be orange, and all the UVs should be orange. So A. Here's my Armor 1 normal map. I'm going to go over to the camera, go to the Bake section, go to Bake, and I'm going to use normals. Okay, now, margin is to creep outside the area here. These normals are very hard. I need to soften them using shading of smooth. That is always the case, no matter if it's hard geometry or low or organic geometry. We always smooth it. It works out a lot better. This is a little different. So the bias is the change from the highest and the lowest. How do you measure that? Because it says distance and bias. Well, I figured out that you could look at the normals. So if you hit N on the keyboard and go to normals under display, oh wait, nope, mesh display, here's face normals. And right now they're at 0.1. If I go like this and then look at the mesh, I'm going to see that these normals are scanning past the distance that they need. In this case, they are. Here's a normal sticking out of the goo that is the highest res. That's from the lowest res. So that's at 0.3. That's what I'm going to be using. Now, it's not 0.3 over here actually, it's 3 points. So you have to move the decimal place over. Took me a while to figure that one out. Alright, that's how I calculate it. And is it always the case? No, never, but that gives you a good start. Okay, here we go. Now this could take 5 minutes, it could take an hour. Bake. And completed. So let's zoom in and kind of look at this map. Very nice, very clean. Look at that. So you can see all the little details. That's good. This is the inside of the mesh, so I'm not really worried about it. But the rest of it looks really good. Very paintable too. So if I brought this into Photoshop, I could still paint on it. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just save this image as. Save image as, go into Armor example, and this is my Armor 1 normal map PNG. Immediately after making the normal map, I go and switch this over to ambient occlusion and hit bake. Alright, so there's my ambient occlusion. I'll be using that later to paint the object. That's going to be my coloring book. So let's save that as. And I'll save that right along with it and call this color map. Okay, so repeat wash. This time I hide these. And this goes relatively fast. Once you get the hang of it, you know, you're just highlighting the high, highlighting the low, baking it, and then baking it again. Again, object mode, hold shift, highlight the other one, hit tab, and then A on the keyboard to highlight everything. This one's got a little bit bigger bias because the scan ratio I can see from here to here is different. So I might have to up this, and I'm guessing that I'm going to up it to about 5. So after a while you get really used to measuring with the normals, and pretty soon you don't even have to use the actual normals themselves. I'm going to guess a 5. We'll see if I'm right. This time I always start out with normals because they are the most important. Okay, I know I forgot a step. The step was to soften it. So you can see what happens when you don't soften it. It becomes a big, jangled, hot mess. So here, I have to smooth this. That looks a lot better. That's almost better than what I did the first time. Okay, so there's my very clean normal map. Again, I'm not worried about the inside here. You can see by having a ratio of 5 on the bake, it actually picked up the outside of the mesh on the inside. So this is the inside of the mesh, and this is what really counts as the outside of the mesh. Okay, again, I'm just going to go save image as. I'm going to call this Armor 2 normal map. Now you can actually go Gauntlet 2 or something like that, but I'm just going to keep it with the naming convention since there's only 2 pieces. Okay, again, I do the ambient occlusion. Same settings. There we go, ambient occlusion. And I'll just export that one out. So fast. It's just really so fast. And I don't know if you've looked, but the number of things that you can bake in Blender is just unbelievable. Look at specular intensity, normals, shadows, texture. You can, and this is how you would do the texture part. Let's say you have the color already applied to the mesh and you have AUV or GUV tiles. Well, we'll look at that later, but this is how you would transfer textures using that one. Alright, I have all my maps. I have all my geometry. Now the next step is to composition them together and paint on the color map. So that is in the next video.